Sweet.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Insiders Lounge. Today we have Tofa. Tofa, thanks for coming on, and let's get things started. Feel free to introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
First of all, thanks for the invite, Chad. I appreciate it. It's nice to be on here. Hi everyone. My name's Tofa, as Chad has said. Fakunle is my last name. I'm 27 years old. About to turn 28 soon. Interesting enough, and I've lived in how many different countries? Holland,
I think it was
Scotland,
4 or 5, yeah.
Nigeria, and now Canada. And I work as the assistant general manager at Cavalry FC in the Canadian Premier League.
Perfect, you nailed it. And let's get started. I really want to know, because your story is fascinating. Like I was telling you earlier, like I was researching kind of the last 2 days, your full story from growing up in Nigeria. Let's start all the way back there. Kind of tell your family story growing up in Nigeria. Then you were in, I think, Holland, Scotland was the other one, and then you came over to Canada. Just kind of give that story, how that started and where things went.
Yeah. So my dad is an engineer. He worked for a company called Shell, which is a pretty big oil and gas company. And he was afforded the opportunity to work abroad from Nigeria. So left Nigeria when I was about 5 years old. Still relatively young. My sister would have been like 3.
Oh wow!
When we left, and it's just the two of us and my dad and my mom. And yeah, we lived in a town called Assen, close to Groningen, in Holland, which is like, it's a really small town. But it was amazing there. I went to a school called the Helen Sharman British School in the Netherlands. So received that education as well, and started playing there in a local club, which, like, local clubs there are unbelievable.
Really?
You have like 12 pitches, a clubhouse, like huge buildings, and it's not, the club I play for wasn't fully professional, but it was like semi-pro, but they had like everything from the grassroots all the way to like their top team, and I was like, it's unbelievable. I think about that more now because of everything that we are, that's being built here in this country at this time.
You realize looking back,
exactly
how cool that was. Yeah,
exactly. Like, that never really hit me, to be like, oh, like I was just kicking it, playing, and doing what I do. But yeah, I lived in Holland, played all sorts of sports too, like cricket, rugby, like loved it. And then we moved to Scotland for like a year and a half.
So not long there.
Not long. No, we lived in Aberdeen, and like
right on.
That was the very first time I played for my school team down there, and it was a different feel of football. But coming from Holland, where it was a technical based game, total football, and Scotland was just so fast. I remember being in my game, being like, "What is going on here?" I couldn't get up to speed to what was happening, but it took me some time, and finally got used to it, and yeah, I had fun there. But I guess Scotland was more like a bridge before we moved over to Canada, and then I've been in Canada now, I think, for almost 17 years. So
wow,
yeah, I'm fully Canadian now.
That's it. I like to hear that.
Yeah.
And then so then when you made it over to Canada, did you move straight to Calgary right away, or did you move within Canada? Straight to Calgary.
No, I went straight to Calgary. My dad, obviously, oil and gas, Calgary. Super easy, super cold at the start. But we kind of got used to it, and I've loved every minute of my time in Calgary. I think it's a wonderful city. There are wonderful people in this city, and I've grown a lot. This is where I grew up, so I consider this place home.
Yeah, and I'm sure being all over the world, that's a big thing to say, because even me, my family's from South Africa. I wasn't born there, but we've been all over, and it's hard to say what does feel like home anymore. But
Hmm.
then so I want to get into, so you were playing club in Holland. You played a little bit of school soccer in Scotland, and then when you made the step into, I think it was Calgary Foothills. Is that the right name?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story. How I got into Foothills.
Mm-hmm.
I used to play for a local, one of the smaller clubs here in town. Started at Calgary West, then went to Northwest United, and from Northwest United, I would play against Foothills, and I used to play against this guy named Elijah Adekubi, and we were just kids back then, but we somehow developed some kind of rivalry. When we played against each other, like it was war.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always trying to one up him. And I remember one game, like I missed the penalty, and he made sure that I knew about it. And I was who is this guy? You know, um, and I remember going back at him too, and it was so interesting, going through that experience. And I was like, all right, well, I had a family friend who wanted us to go try out for Foothills at the time,
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, yeah, because I had outgrown my time at Northwest United,
Right.
and Foothills was a top club, so I was like, yeah, let me go try out, and that's where Tommy Wilden Jr. first saw me, playing
Wow. So
indoor
all the
all
way
the
from
way,
back there. That's
all the way
crazy.
from back there. Yeah, well, I was like what,
I was
13
gonna say
maybe
you
at the
have to know
time.
each other. Yeah, 10+ years for sure.
Yeah, I've known Tommy since I was like
Wow.
13 years old. So yeah, that's where he met me playing indoor soccer at the Talisman Center. I don't even know if it's still called the Talisman Center, but that building's still there.
Yeah.
Um, and made the team. I was trying out for a team called the Saints, which was a 1994 age group team. I'm born in the year 1995, so I was playing a year up.
Mm-hmm.
On that team, you had people like Sam Adekubi, as well. So, uh, yeah, made the team, and got to play with Sam and a bunch of these other players. Dominic Zator,
Mm-hmm.
was also on that team. So yeah, it was super super interesting, super fun, and that's how I got into Calgary Foothills.
And then one thing's, when I was researching, I noticed like the tagline they used for when you first signed with Calgary was that you're one of the smallest players in the CPL.
Yeah.
So I hate to always like depict someone in a certain way, but I think it's fascinating because something like that can drag on past a playing career. So can you get a
Yeah.
little bit into like how it was growing up playing at a disadvantage, you could call it, when
Yeah.
guys like,
Yeah.
even like Messi's small, you got your Insignes, whatever. What was
Yeah.
it like growing up playing at that height, and then how did that kind of mentality grow into your working career now, and kind of
Yeah.
past your playing career?
Just to touch on that, I always hated that. I was like,
Yeah.
how am I gonna sign, get an opportunity, and that's the only thing you're gonna talk about? Not
Yeah.
not that like I can play football, or like what's the case here? Um, but no, fair question. I listen. I'm a bit. I'm smaller. Obviously, I'm like 5'4", I think. Not the tallest person in the world. Um, but what I do have on my side is I've always kind of been stockier,
Mm,
and strong. So relying on that, and quick short bursts, not over long distances. That
right.
wasn't really my game. I didn't get blessed with that much speed. When I think about speed, I think like Gaultier and Tigney speed,
Yeah.
and Alfonso Davies speed. Like that is crazy speed.
It's like the
Um,
difference. There was Bolt and there was the other Jamaican. Was he Blake as well or
Jason
something? He
Blake,
was the
yeah,
shorter one that always beat him on like the first few seconds, but then Bolt would
yeah,
just go flying past him.
yeah. I don't know
It's
if
like
it's
that.
Jason. We'd have to look that up,
Something.
Chad. Let,
Yeah.
let's 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 not
I
let's
gotta do
not put
more
that stuff there.
research.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it was cool. Like for me, I had that, and used my strength to my advantage, but also like I had a good technical base.
Hmm.
Growing up in Holland, I was taught well, so I tried to rely on that as well, and continue to emphasize that. Sometimes when I look back, I'm like, did I rely on my strength a little bit too much? You
Hmm.
know, um, and would have probably liked to improve my intelligence, and doing things that would have translated into the pro game. Um, like receiving in the pocket. Would have loved to do that more and more, but I always kind
Hmm.
of relied on that. Oh yeah, like I have ability, but then, doing above and beyond, I think would have also helped me in the
Hmm.
progress of my career. So that's something I always think about.
And then let's get into, so you ended up winning the PDL Championship, I believe it's called, right, in 2018.
Yeah.
That is now League Two, I think, is the way I was researching it.
Yeah, USL League Two. That's what it's now.
Okay, so you won that in 2018, and then in 2019, or I think it might still be in 2018, you joined Cavalry, right?
Yeah, no, so 2018 we won, and then the next year the Canadian Premier League started.
Okay, so
So
then you joined them.
yeah, so
And then you
it's
guys
actually
won the first year as well, right? So I kind of wanted
yeah,
to get
yeah,
into,
yeah.
what was it like? You kind of won back to back. Like, it must have felt pretty good.
Honestly, like the team was ridiculous. Like,
Hmm.
credit to Tommy. Like the guy built like a crazy team. You know, um, we uh we started off like the 2018. Let me talk about the PDL
Yeah,
team. Like
yeah.
we had guys like Marco Carducci, like you know,
There were some ballers.
Ali Musi, you know, Elijah Adekubi. Like our team
Hmm.
was Joel Waterman, like Carlos
Oh, damn.
Patino. Like
Yeah, that's an all-star team right there.
the team was insane. We were built to win and built to be successful. Like Bruno Zebi, one of my boys as well. Like we were Dominic Zator. Like I can't miss all these guys. Nico
You gotta
Pasquale.
you
Like
gotta name them.
yeah, the list goes on and on and on. William Akio. So
Yeah.
it's coming back to my brain as I'm looking back at the team. Like the team was a great team.
Hmm.
And we were built to win. We went out. I actually started in the starting lineup that year.
Hmm.
Um, and somehow, some way, like I kind of fell out of the starting lineup. And yeah, like football happens. Like the
Hmm.
coach makes decisions, and you just have to put your head down and continue to work to show why you deserve it. And I just kept going and going and going, and I think it kind of showed because at the last game in the final, like he just gave me a chance to go on, and I tried to make an impact the best that I could in terms of
Hmm.
sealing the game and making sure that we won accordingly. Did I create two chances or whatever? I can't even remember.
But
But
you made your impact.
yeah, I made the tiny impact that I could, and
Hmm.
that just came from attitude of continue to keep going, continue to work hard. Um, and then yeah, 2019, we had preseason, and in my opinion, like I had a fantastic preseason with Cavalry. Um, I showed, like, even though I had that limited experience, I showed, I think, that I could play with the guys and
Hmm.
be at that level. And had a great preseason, but Tommy felt like it was best for me to continue with the USL team for
Hmm.
half of the season and see,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
let's see how you do in the summer. Let's see how we get into that. And
Hmm.
yeah, we had a decent season that with the USL team that year. I bagged goals, bagged assists, did what I needed to do, and played well. And then Tommy gave me an opportunity. And to be honest, like when I look back at it right now in the pro game, this is partly why I stopped playing as well. Because,
Hmm.
the professional game, you need that sheer athleticism and power.
Hmm.
I'm sure Tommy thinks about it sometimes too. He's like, because we had William Akio, who was there as well. And,
Hmm.
I'm sitting in my spot right now, as an assistant GM who's been entrusted to help out in terms of recruiting and how we build strategies to build the team and the overall club and what we want to do. Um, and if I had that player that I was and the player that William Akio was, I think I would have signed William Akio. To be honest,
Yeah.
William Akio had power, pace, and he was a bit raw, but everything there was exciting there, and he
Yeah.
was younger. I'm looking at if I looked at the player profile that I was, yeah, like I had a good season, I produced, but would it produce at the next level? Do you know what I
And
mean?
for years to come, yeah.
Exactly. So like
Because is he younger than you?
yeah, Willie's
Yeah.
3 years younger than me.
Oh, okay, so that's a
Yeah.
factor
So
as
at the
well.
time, I think he was like 21 or something. I don't actually. No, yeah, I don't know. Like 22 or something. I can't
2019, yeah,
remember.
yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So he had all this upside, but like he was still learning the game. But like
Hmm.
the guy's powerful, pacey, strong, wiry. And yeah, like, if I was to look at it, I'm okay like saying that. Like
Hmm.
I didn't have like a crazy playing career, right?
Yeah,
Played halfway through, like got a couple minutes here and there, and then went into island games. Um,
because that
and
was
Tommy,
your first year. No, it would have been the second year. Was the COVID year technically, right?
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So went into the COVID year, and the COVID year, like, bro, was crazy for everybody. Like, at the time I wasn't getting re-signed.
Hmm.
Um, but I guess with the roster construction, Tom was like, yeah, like, he called me like, do you want to come? And then kind of pitched the idea of kind of doing two roles at the same time, like playing and then transitioning into another role.
Almost
Which
like a
was a
player
football,
coach type of thing.
yeah, player. Like honestly, you wanted me to transition to a football operations role.
I was gonna say because that's the first step that you took
Yeah, football
into
operations manager, and
operations.
then yeah, like still play when I was needed, and that was tough. Like
Hmm.
very hard.
Yeah,
Some like to like train and like still do all the stuff I need to do. Like worry about like ITCs for players, get players in, like you know
no, that's a
all these
lot.
different things. Like really difficult. And I remember Tommy and our president Ian Allison calling it the baptism by fire, and I was like, yeah, it was. But here we are today, still standing by the grace of God. So it wasn't very interesting journey in 2020. I know everyone, well, the people that I know will remind
Hmm.
me of the time when I came on against Halifax and had the chance to score but didn't score. Like, put the volley over, but just reps. That's what I blame it on. Like I
That's
wasn't,
it.
as much as I would have loved that to go in, and I still back myself. Like if I was to put myself in that situation again, I'm like, no, like, yo,
You're
Toph,
banging
put
that.
it in.
Yeah,
Like make it. What are you talking about?
yeah.
Um, it just wasn't my day that day. But yeah, it's we transitioned after that, and you know, we've just grown ever since then.
So before we get too far into kind of your career now, let's backtrack to university. So where did
Yeah,
university come into play? So I think you went to two different universities, if I'm right, or a university and college. Did you
I
play
went.
at both?
No, so I went to UNBC, University of Northern British Columbia,
Right.
and that's in Prince George, BC.
Okay.
Um, Crazy story. Like I actually wanted to go to Trinity Western University,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and play with Mike Sharon there, and um, another coach. I think his name was Pat Rolla. But yeah, it didn't work out that way for me. Um, but another coach, Coach Al, he was like, "Yeah, come to Prince George. Like we're building something super cool, blah blah blah." And like I didn't even visit the place. I was like, "All right, cool. Like I'm in."
Hmm.
Got there, a bit of a shock, like really small town. You
Yeah.
know, I was like, "Whoa!" Like I'm from a big city in Calgary, so I was like,
Hmm.
"Whoa!" Like what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Um, and coming from a high environment at Calgary Foothills where everything is motivated, like we're motivated to succeed there, and
Hmm.
push the limits as best as we can. And then like, mixing it with, university players from a smaller town that like, they were just okay with, being
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right?
That
So
was
that was
that was their level. Because what year is this now? Just to kind of give everyone a perspective. This is like
uh
2015, 16,
yeah, 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 yeah,
and then
yeah,
you went on to kind of play. Yeah. So
yeah. This is like
you in your head you're thinking, look, I got so much more, and these guys are we're chilling. We got a little bit of a scholarship. We're the
that
boys on campus, and that's it.
that that's how it felt. That's honestly
Mhm.
how it felt. I think I graduated high school like 2013.
Okay.
So, going from there, like 2014, 15, yeah, it would make sense. 2018,
Hmm.
I was done. But yeah, like that's how it felt, to be honest with you. And I really struggled with that. I was like, and sometimes I was honestly like a really bad teammate,
Hmm.
because I was like, no, like it has to be like this and blah, blah, blah. But like I just wanted to win. I
Hmm.
wasn't okay with just being mediocre, or I knew we were building a program, which is also what enticed me to do something a little bit different, right?
Mm.
That would have been cool and fun, but and unique. So I embraced that underdog story. Went to university, did my degree in psychology and a minor
Mhm.
in business. And the other school, because you asked me about school,
Yeah, there was
that I
another
went
one I
to,
saw.
yeah, it was Adler University. So I did that. I did a master's. That's why I did my
Oh, okay.
master's in industrial and organizational psychology, and I was able to do that from home. So um, yeah, that's where I went for my higher education.
And then your playing days in it's UNBC, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I saw you basically had the accolade list was just like half the page when I was looking at it. And I
Yeah.
think you made the alumni like Hall of Fame and everything. So how were your playing day? Obviously, you were saying like the level wasn't, or maybe the admiration to do better wasn't really there. But how
Mhm.
was the level compared to what you were used to playing, and what were some of the highlights and like challenges that while you were there?
Yeah, it was definitely lower when I first
Mm.
got there, and I Coach Al told me we were building a program, but I didn't understand how like, what that really meant until I got
Yeah.
there. You know, and I have no problem saying that. Like it took me by surprise, but
Right.
then I was able to ask one of my really close friends, Francesco. I was like, yeah, listen, just he'd come through some injuries at the time. I was like,
Mm.
just come out here, let's play. And that was the time of where Coach Al actually recruited really well. He had people like Josh McAvoy, Conrad Rowlands, Gordon Hall. You know, these guys were good players, and
Mm.
they came through. And yeah, that was where I was like, cool. We need a couple years. We were young, but we had the pieces in place to be a really good team. And learn. But yeah, at first it was a struggle there. Um, but yeah, listen, it took us some years to get. We went like this, steadily, and that's what like makes me really proud because that shows the evolution of a team, evolution of a program, um, that was built on hard work and getting to where we wanted to get to. And I think with a couple more years, like if that group, obviously we only get to play for
Yeah, it's
five
the
years,
problem. Yeah.
right? Which is fine. Like that's life. But
But you
with more
felt the
time,
progression.
yeah, there was progression there.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I'm proud to be a part of that progression. Yeah, luckily, like listen, I have some awards there. I don't even know which ones stand anymore. I'm sure there's a boy called Michael Henman. He's like
Mhm.
crushed all the scoring ones. Like he's the man now. So
But you had like your rookie of the year. You had a few good ones.
yeah, yeah,
They'll stand.
and
They'll stand.
yeah, 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 yeah. Those will stand, and yeah, I got inducted to the Hall of Fame, which is really cool. Um, I'm really, really privileged, really blessed. At the end of the day, UMBC was a fantastic place for me to grow up as a man. You know,
Mhm.
um, fantastic people around, who helped me. Laura Lynn, who's the athletic director, and also Steve Simonson as well, who was our coach. Like the guy changed the way I look at the game, made me think more, and
Mhm.
yeah, I fully respect them for everything they gave to me and how they helped me grow on and off the pitch because I wasn't a good leader, at that time. I was leading out of anger,
Right.
not out of wisdom. So um, I really grew up there.
No, I like that. Sometimes that's what people need. You might have been ahead on the field, but off the
Yeah,
field with your mentality, you might have needed some of improvements, and then it showed because and a year later you ended up winning the PDL, and then you were professional. So it
yeah,
was
yeah,
a cool time, I'm sure.
yeah.
So let's get a little bit into the psychology side of things. So you have your bachelor and your master's in psychology.
Yes.
Um, how did that? Because that would have been still before you were going through all your championships and then playing for Cavalry. How did that impact your career post kind of getting that degree?
hmm
And then now into your work in your day to day, how does that kind of fit in?
It's fantastic question, by the way. I think
Hmm.
what my superpower is, like, I've got a pretty good handle on like people,
Hmm.
um, and understanding like what can make them tick. And I think I see things differently to other people that they may just not see or may just not
Right.
care to see. You know. Um, and I find that to be a unique skill set. But yeah, the study of people is a wonderful thing,
Mm-hmm.
and the brain, and how the brain works, interacts, different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from a different background than you are. Like
Right.
we might engage in one situation, and I might look at it differently. You might look at it differently, right? Am I then gonna be like, no, Chad, like you have to see it my way? You know what I
Right.
mean? Or
Mm-hmm.
am I open enough to be like, hey, like Chad comes from this background, like maybe this is what he's used to, this is how he sees it. I look at it the same way now in terms of how we deal with players. Players that
Mm-hmm.
we interact with on a day to day, staff members that we interact with on a day to day. You have different people with different backgrounds, and you have to be able to understand their point of view, their perspective, where they're coming from, but then channel it in a way where we're all going in the same direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all have a common goal. We all can strive to do what we want to do together, right? You have to, at the end of the day, for me, like it's all about the management of people and getting. If you want to get the best out of them and create the best possible environment for them to succeed, which is all what my master's program was all about, getting the
Mm-hmm.
best out of people by creating the best environment for them to succeed. Well, what do they need to be successful? How can they grow in this environment? And then giving them that platform and saying, well, yeah, like go for it, grow from there. And
Right.
I think it's highly highly important, especially in the role that I'm in right now. Um, and do we always get it right? Do I always get it right? No. Like I'm still
Mm-hmm.
learning, and I will continue to say that I will continue to learn and go from there. But yeah, I really love where I went in terms of the schooling and then my master's degree, because it's helped me translate it now in what I'm doing in terms of the strategic planning, strategic thinking, and the step by step of everything we want to do. Because one thing I can tell you here at Cavalry FC, at this
Mm-hmm.
club, like we are very meticulous. We are meticulous to the T in terms of the detail and what we want to do, how we are going to do it, the people we surround ourselves to do that, and then we go for it. Do we get it right all the time? No, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
always happen that way. But we are open enough to sit back, reflect, and say, "Okay, didn't get that one right," or et cetera, et cetera. What can we do now to make sure that we go again, and we just keep pushing the envelope? So no, it's helped me massively, and part of my role and what I embrace as well is to look at things from a different perspective, so that
Right.
we're not just getting into groupthink, is how I call it. Everyone just starts, well, groupthink is what everyone just starts saying
Yeah.
the
It's
same
all just a
thing.
jumbled mess.
Yeah, jumbled mess of the same thing that you
Mm-hmm.
just say, oh, this person thinks it's this. Okay, well, I think it's that too. Well, no, like what do you actually think, right?
Right. No, I think it's a powerful thing, and it's showing this year. You're obviously regular season champions, and I think you have a definite chance of going all the way. I think that's definitely almost like an undervalued asset. Like you don't. I think more people should realize, like, look, having a background in psychology is so powerful in almost any landscape, but especially
Mm-hmm.
sport. I think it's so useful to understand the mind. I say
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of people, like many times, when you get to a certain level of playing soccer, everyone's pretty much the same, and
Mm-hmm.
those little things that boost someone's ability a lot of the times comes from their mentality and their
Yeah,
brain more than just what's on their feet and how they play.
yeah.
So I think
You've
those
got it
little
spot
things
on,
that you
man.
identify is what can kind of change. Like you said, you're so meticulous about what you do with your club that I think those little things are what change. They can have drastic results and drastic differences in the way things work.
100%, 100%. You mentioned, mentality. Mentality is a huge part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Refusing to want to be mediocre. I'm not saying, clubs just go around and be like, yeah, we're just going to be average. No,
Yeah.
but like you have to go above and beyond. And I have learned that in my career, like in everything that I do, I want to go above and beyond of what is required of me, because I want to always put my best foot forwards. And have us, just go from there. But if I can contribute in any way, shape, or form that I can to my organization being successful, like I will go above and beyond to do that. And that comes from mentality. And
Mm-hmm.
once that mentality starts, obviously our ownership from Linda, um, and her family, and Ian, our president, and Tommy, like we are striving to be excellent in everything that we do. So it's just runs throughout that DNA runs throughout the whole club. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's been a really fun ride so far.
No, that's great. And then to kind of dial things back, so we spoke a little bit about how your transition started. So you went to the Island Games, you're kind of balancing like almost a full-time job that would be someone's job and playing at the
Yeah.
same time. Let's kind of keep going on that journey. So you went to the Island Games, you're kind of balancing almost work life and playing. When did you so when you guys came back, did you fully become kind of the football operations guy?
Yeah, that's what happened. When we came back, we called it an internship to start with to see how I would do.
Right.
And then when I came back, I got a chance to sit down with Ian and Tommy, and they kind of offered me the role, and what I've been able to do in terms of football operations manager, and we're happy with what I was doing. And yeah, that was it, man. We
Mhm.
progressed from there, and it's been a fun ride, like I said. But yeah, like you said, crazy journey in the Island Games. But yeah, it was when I got back that I moved into that role.
And then from kind of the operations side of things to becoming a assistant general manager, how long were you in operations before you kind of took the step? And then what like that's a pretty big step, especially my one of my next questions is like there's not a lot of 27-year-old assistant general managers are lying around. So kind of
Yeah.
what is that experience like, that transition, and kind of what's your day-to-day like now being a little bit younger in a sense that for what the normal kind of age would be for that job.
Yeah, really, really interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been what 2020 now. It's almost the end of 2023. So it's been really, really unique, really fast, really,
Mm-hmm.
really, really awesome. I'm really blessed. Um, and the journey has been unique, whereby like I just tried to show Tommy and Ian and Linda that I can be a valuable member of the team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, I would do things that I didn't necessarily have to do. Excuse me, but I did just to show that, yeah, listen, like I can grow in this career. I have capacity, you know, and yeah, luckily enough, they realized that, gave me an opportunity, gave me a promotion. I was also very straightforward with where I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
I said to Tommy, that this is what I wanted. My next step for me is to be an assistant general manager to support you in that capacity that you have as general manager.
Mm-hmm.
He's also our head coach as well. But I felt like I could support him while he was on the field. Like he could entrust me to do the things that you know can be done,
Mm-hmm.
to help us operate more effectively, was
Mm-hmm.
how I thought. And I think it's worked. You know, I think he entrusts me to part of my, day to day, like you mentioned here. And we just hired this year, we hired a head of recruitment, Oliver Minitel.
Yeah.
The guy speaks, English, Brazilian, sorry, Brazilian, Portuguese. Um,
Just like an encyclopedia of languages.
yeah, this guy, like you can talk to him, hey Oliver, and he'll just be saying, now we're close now. He
Yeah.
also used, one of the cool things about our club is that like we have former players in roles. Like
That's what I was gonna
I'm
ask. He's a former player as well, right?
yeah, former
Mm-hmm.
player as well. Now he's our head of recruitment. And part of our role and how we've set it up was that we want to build, you know, an effective recruitment team,
Mm-hmm.
and how we're gonna continue to do that. One of the things that I started, like I said, that I would go above and beyond, that I thought to initiate, was the use of a platform called Transfer Room. You
I
know,
was gonna actually
Tra-
mention this because I've kind of started working with Transfer Room a little bit, and I
oh
really
nice,
like the platform and what they've done. So yeah, speak on
yeah.
it a little bit because I think a lot of people will find this fascinating.
Yeah, Transform is a fantastic platform. Like for me, it gives you direct club to club access instantly. Like you want to know, you want to contact the club, you can do it right away. Like
Mhm.
it's fantastic
I
that
say
way.
it's almost like FIFA manager career. Like you literally just you click a button and boom, you've got Barcelona or whatever you want right at your front doorstep. You don't have to go through agent or
Exactly.
another connection or whatever. It's just direct
Yeah.
business, and it makes it
Yeah.
clean all on one
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah. It's a genius model, to be honest. It's
Mhm.
like when you see stuff like that, it's like, why didn't I just think of that? Like,
Yeah.
why didn't that register to me? But no, man. Yeah, I felt like for our club, like we needed to expand our network and expand, you know, the way that we could get different types of profiles. And I thought
Mhm.
Transform did a good job of explaining how they could do that and how that's also helped us. Now I can confidently say Transform has helped us connect with different agents that we would have no business like,
Ever
talking
dealing
to,
with
or
yeah.
having to go through several hoops before we get to talk to that agent, right?
Right.
And we've been able to educate people on the Canadian Premier League, educate clubs on the Canadian Premier League, whereby it's helped us a lot, to be honest. And
Mhm.
that was one of the things that I always keep mentioning it. How can we operate more effectively? Like I just
Mhm.
thought, like if we had that, then this could help us operate at a higher rate, more effectively than maybe other clubs who are kind of around our same in the league, same
Yeah,
vicinity.
similar level, yeah.
Yeah. So, I just thought like, yeah, that's how I think differently. And I said, yeah, like let's try something. It's a bit different. I had to convince
Mhm.
Tommy and Ian and Linda as to, obviously Linda's our overall boss. So, as to, why this was necessary and
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. And I was glad for the trust for that. But yeah, man, it's one of those things that we've used now, and we use it in our recruitment a lot. And we've talked to different people, different agents that have helped us, get different things done. So,
Mhm.
um, that's part of my day to day, like managing the budget as well. Like Tommy entrusts me to, look things over, and keep him informed of what's happening, and also then work together to build a plan that can be sustainable, right?
Right.
Um, and yeah, like I like watching training sometimes, like talking to the guys, seeing what they're how they're doing, what's going on, how's life going.
Being the
My boy,
psychologist. The
yeah,
one the psychologist you always meant to
the
be, yeah.
psychologist in me wants to check in, like, and also
Mhm.
just the human level. Like, I
Right.
believe, like, if the players are human beings at the end of the day, right?
Mhm.
Like, you have to treat them as a human being. Like, yes, they're players and they're always gonna have this request or blah 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 or whatever the case may be. But like, when I go talk to my boy Ali Musi, like, I'm not coming for anything. I'm just saying, like, what's up? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? Like, how you doing? You know? Um, and I think that's important. Like, that's something that I've learned from like Pete Carroll and like Steve Kerr, right?
Mhm.
Golden State and Seattle. Like Golden State, Steve Kerr always talks about that. The human element. And I think the best organizations, look at Golden State, like they care a lot about that. And adding that human touch to things can really go a long way. So that's my style.
I like that. You had two good points there. One, you had many good points, but the two that really drew out to me were the one you were talking about, kind of how you were trying to do things differently and do more than you were expected of, and I think
Yeah,
that comes down to your UNBC days. I think
yeah,
you knew there was a certain level that you could achieve, and I think learning and growing how to be a leader and bring people to that level, I think is an important part of what you learned back then, and you've kind of brought that into your situation now. And I
yeah,
think the second one was the important part of a recruitment team is, I think, having a clear structure. I think a
yeah,
lot of teams where you're not that elite level of a Champions League club, and even those clubs, sometimes you lack an exact structure of, look, this is your job and this is what you need to do. You kind of
yeah,
have these multiple people all having their own contacts and doing their own thing, but then I
yeah,
don't think it actually ever gets tied together, and I think it can get lost. And that's where you have these situations where we don't even know who this player is because one guy knew a guy that knew a guy, and it becomes
Yeah.
a disaster. Where I think if you have a clear, this is your head of scouting, he does this. This is your
Yeah.
assistant GM, he can help with this. This is
Yeah.
your GM, he makes these decisions. I think that makes it a really clear structure that can
You
show and prove results.
you've got it spot on. That's exactly what we want to do. Tommy's the final decision maker at the end of the day. But Oliver and I, we work, hand in hand to
Mhm.
to give him what he will bring to the table, what he is asked for. You know, and yeah, like it's been fantastic that way. And like you said, we have a really clear structure of how it works and what happens. And then we kind of go for it from there. Like we're continuing to take steps forward that can position us to continue to excel. So it's
I like that a lot.
yeah, it's been like I said, everything is really well planned and thought of, and um we go from there.
Remind me about that after. I have a point to tell you about, but we'll get
Yeah.
into the next few. These questions I try and ask everyone. It's almost a little bit selfish because I like hearing the stories of people, and it kind of helps me learn in my own ways.
Hmm.
What are some of, so you're obviously having a lot of success right now. The club just finished first. You got the championship. You're moving into the playoffs in a strong position. But I'm sure throughout your playing career and now your working career, you've had some incredible challenges, and I say this quite often that soccer is the biggest roller coaster ever. And when we're
Hmm.
talking about mentality, I think the people that can kind of keep that line as steady as possible tend to do really well. But I think if
Hmm.
you get attached to this roller coaster, it can just become exhausting and tire you out. But what were some of those? Like, do you have any moments where you're like, man, I don't know if I can do this anymore, or one of those things where you just can't, like, you don't know that next step, or kind of things just black out and you don't know what to do?
Yeah, man. Really, really good question. Um, yeah, like in my playing career, like for me, is one of those ones where, you know, after like the 2019 season, I was like what's next? Like
Hmm.
what am I gonna do now? Like, I remember actually um kind of just talking to my dad about it, and it ended up being like a whole argument. Like in terms of what I was gonna do and like what I was doing, right?
Right.
Um, and yeah, like it was really tough, really interesting time, because sometimes it feels like you may have failed that way, you
Hmm.
know, not breaking through as you wanted as a professional football player.
Right.
But what I actually realized, and this is where I gotta thank God, like he was maybe setting me up for something differently,
Hmm.
and something better, for me that suited me. Um, and yeah, like getting into this now, and I think of this like last year, and like last year was really tough because we went to the semifinal, we played Forge, and you know how it goes, the pundits and the narratives, Cavalry Forge, and Cavalry can't do this against Forge, and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
You know, um, yeah, we ended up losing at Tim Hortons Field in the semifinal, and like that was a pretty low point for me. I didn't talk about this too much, other than probably with my wife, to be
Right.
honest. And you know, it was a tough time because like you put in so much work,
Hmm.
so much effort, and et cetera, et cetera, and you want to succeed. Like our club is built on that, like being successful, winning trophies, going for trophies.
Right.
And at that time, we fell short, you know. And I could see like the effect it had on like the people around, like the staff and blah blah blah. Um, but yeah, this year, like it's been we've been really really blessed. Like first and foremost, I thank God, for His favor, because football's a game, you know.
Yeah.
Um, like it can go your way, it may not go your way. Um, but the bounces have gone our way
Hmm.
this year, and we've played well. The team is well built, great people in the locker room, and like yeah, it's been a really really dope journey to come from that low to now experience the high. that we're experiencing. Being the first club to book a spot to go play CONCACAF Champions Cup, whereby we
Yeah.
could draw Lionel Messi, for goodness sake. Like
Imagine
it's
that.
just like, yeah, it's crazy. And
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, this is only half of the testimony, because that was just the regular season. There's still one more trophy to be
Now the
had.
real
So,
fight starts.
and I have to correct you on that, because I actually think
Sorry. You
I
know what I
know,
mean. You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
I know
I
what you
don't
mean.
mean that that was irrelevant, but
I
there's
know
a
what you
real
mean.
there's
I know what you
yeah.
mean. But I always like tell people, like, listen, we over a 28 game season. Like, this team
Yeah,
was the
it's
best
a
team
long season.
it's a long season. This team was the best team in the league for 28 games. So, well, over the course of the 28 games.
Right.
Excuse me. So, we had a rough start too. 5 draws in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Undefeated, but I remember we actually had this conversation. I was like, "Oh, we were talking about it's like, oh,
Yeah.
great, we're still undefeated, but we need a win. We need 3 points
Yeah.
here."
Yeah. Like, we 5 draws, and it just seemed like things weren't going our way. But, like, again, thank God for His grace and His favor upon us this year. So, we move forward, and yeah, like experiencing that low last year. Like, I remember like sitting in my living room, like looking at the screen and just like folding my arms and just being like, very, very. I think I stayed there for a while. My wife kept asking, like, "Are you okay?" Well,
It's just like a
it's like,
blank
yeah, like I'm
space.
fine. Yeah, like you're just trying to digest everything. But
Mhm.
yeah, like I'm super grateful. So that's those are some of the challenges that way, because then you start to doubt yourself, right?
Yeah.
You start to be like, do I not know like what I'm doing, like, or et cetera, et cetera.
Or could
And
you have done something differently? Or all these doubts come in.
100%, 100%.
I think I have a similar mentality, and at the end of the day, your highs don't feel as good if you didn't have those lows, and I think
Mm-hmm.
you have to really, when you're in those moments, you have to really feel it. Like, look, there is something, there is a better something, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to kind of tie into things with your faith. I find it pretty cool, and I always say, even if it's not a religious faith, I think you have to have faith in something where you can kind of get to that next day where when you're down or you're low, you can kind of look, there's something better for me. And I think that's important in any career, but I think in soccer, especially when we're talking about this roller coaster effect where you're constantly in ups and downs.
Yeah.
How does your faith kind of entail into your job and into soccer as a whole?
Oh, it is the basis of everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
It does not change. It will not waver. Um, and people can like that or not, but I am who I am.
Right.
I grew up in a Christian home. Did I always follow that? No. To be honest with you, but you know, I made my mind up relatively right after university. Like, listen, like, no, like, I'm really gonna follow, this
Mm-hmm.
faith, and pursue God with all that I had. And like, thank God, like, this is only
Yeah. Look where
I
he's brought
can't.
you.
Yeah, like, look where I am now in life, and I'm forever grateful for that. Um, but yeah, like, this year, like I said, it's only half of the testimony winning one trophy,
Yeah.
because I prayed for 2, you know? And I wrote it down. We have prayer points that, I go to a fantastic church, New Covenant Assembly,
Mm-hmm.
with my pastor, Pastor Kala, who, has taught me like so much, like in this last year, you know. I went through something called the Prayer Academy. Like, this just like one of the programs that the church puts on, and like taught you like how to pray, how to spend time in the place of prayer, how to connect with God, etc., etc. And I have done this, and exercising your faith, like writing down your prayer point,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing it come to pass. Like, this year, we called it. It was themed the year of dominion, which means to dominate. I look at the league table right now. We are plus 16 goal difference.
Mm-hmm.
We are, I think we've won 15 games. We are 10 points ahead of second place. Like, that is dominion,
Yeah.
and half of the testimony is still to come. And I'm still exercising my faith that, it will happen, and
Mhm.
God's will be done, and I'm okay with that. Um, but yeah, I have grown so much in this past year and really deeping into the word. But yeah, faith is my faith, and my walk with God is everything that I do. It determines my actions, determines how I speak to people. Do I always get it right? No, I
Mhm.
don't. I'm not perfect. But I strive to be and go with that in everything I do. I don't push my faith upon anybody. Um, I respect everyone for who they are and whatever opinion they may have. But I try to live my life in a way that exemplifies, who Christ has called us to be and how to live, and hopefully that can touch the hearts of the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis.
You should be a preacher as your part-time job, man. That was killer. That was great. That was awesome.
uh,
No, so
uh,
we've been speaking. That was great. First of all, I really appreciate that. But yeah, we've been speaking kind of about your success and your whole story from the beginning.
yeah,
Do you have any tips? I always love to get even at your age, like you're only 27 at a job that people would be shocked to hear a 27-year-old. You should still be playing. Like really is
yeah,
the mentality.
yeah.
Do you have any tips for not only players, because you kind of had your own unique journey playing in multiple countries at a young age, and then kind of playing pro for a short period of time, but then moving into that kind of senior role?
Mm,
Do you have tips for players? But then also, I think there's a unique part of our audience that's similar to me, where at a very young age, I realized, look, I'm not going to make it pro,
hmm
but I love the game and I want to be in the game. I just don't know where to be in. And I think that side of things is very difficult because it's kind of
yeah,
like, oh, there's Eric Ten Hag as the manager of Manchester United, but how do I become him? I think there's kind of a
yeah,
blank space where not a lot of people know how to get there.
yeah, yeah,
Especially as like an assistant general manager. Like that's a unique position that people might know how to become a manager. Sure, you coach here, there, and whatever, and you can build your way up. But a general manager is like a completely different realm. Can you give
yeah.
tips kind of on both sides, both the player side and the kind of your work side now?
Yeah, like for me, I really interesting question, this one. Um Unique tips. I would say from a player side, like obviously, listen, I've said this openly, like you can look at my appearances. I think I had like four. Like it's not like
Mm-hmm.
I had a professional career playing per se.
Right.
But I think what I always did was I just kept applying myself, and understand your role within the team. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, one thing that I've learned from someone here is that you can either be a vitamin or you can be a germ.
I like
You
that.
know,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a vitamin and you're not, you can be a vitamin and yeah, great, I'm playing. What happens when you're not playing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who are you? And character is so important. The same reason as to why jobs like normal jobs
Yeah.
hire people is based on all the reference checks and the character of the individual. It's no different in professional sport. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be a person of integrity, um and high character. I think at the end of the day, you can have the best, you can be so talented, like, and we've seen it. We've seen players who are so talented,
Yeah.
and then you ask about them and you don't hear a good thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you don't want. Don't
Right.
be that player. Like really strive to be a person of integrity and high character, because that's what gets you the opportunity. Um Obviously you need to know how to play, but
That's all.
high,
Yeah, that's all. The
right,
self-explanatory.
high character. In terms of like management, I would say like build a network. Like build a network of people that you can connect and grow with. Uh, don't stop connecting with people on LinkedIn, and et cetera, et cetera. Like literally, Gote and Tigny, the way he was sold was through, last, I think in the summer, was it in the winter? Yeah, in the winter, I was like, yeah, listen, I'm just gonna dig for people in the French market and see how we could connect with someone there. And we connected with an agent, you know, and Oliver built a really cool portfolio with the help of the video analyst team. And Gote was progressing really well in the field, and that's part of Tommy's mantra is to continue to develop players. Like he came from Calgary Foothills, which is an academy that was
Right.
prides itself on developing players and good people. And
Mm-hmm.
he's always said we're never going to lose that touch. That's what we came from. That's what we have, right? Then you have the coaching staff: Leon Hapgood, Nick Ledgerwood, like everyone in the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
And just helping Gote learn and grow. And then he started putting it together on the field. Oliver puts a portfolio together, and yeah, I connected with Pierre on LinkedIn, some time ago. Kept talking to him and said, "Hey, what do you think of this player?" And boom, it goes on from there
Yeah.
as to how Gote got sold. But like, if you don't go above and beyond to like, hey, let me see if I can find this person, or let me just educate this person on this in the Canadian Premier League, and blah blah blah. And that's what I believe in. Like,
Mm-hmm.
always try to connect with people, and build your network. Excuse me, because the more you build, the more you build your network, like, you're putting yourself in a good position. You're putting, your organization that you work for in a good position as well. I firmly believe that.
I love the whole topic of networking. I find it such a fascinating area. Like, there's a podcast I listen to. It's called My First Million. They're kind of like they're
Nice,
based around startups. And
nice.
one of the big things they talk about is have your network built before you need it. So they actually base it on Noah's Ark. So they say
Oh
build
wow.
it before you need it. They say pair network connections with each other. So kind of like they
Yeah.
paired the animals together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then just be ready to help and help as many people as you can, because later on down the line you never know where a connection comes into play that you'll end up getting a new
Yeah.
job or whatever the next situation kind of
Hundred
comes
percent.
from.
Hundred
All right,
percent.
so the next question, this is one of my favorites. If we sat down to have the same interview again in 5 to 10 years, so let's say you're 37, where do you think you'll be career wise, kind of as a person, or where do you physically think you might be in general?
Man, I don't know where I'm gonna be physically, but like obviously by that time I want to have some kids in our
Mm-hmm.
home here. Um, I want to continue to be in football. Um, I want to continue down the journey that I'm at right now, whether that's being general manager, sporting director, or president, like whatever that is.
Yeah.
That's where I want to continue to push to be, um, um, and grow in this capacity, and continue to meet lots of wonderful people, but also I think first and foremost, like my family, like really want to build a family, and continue to grow from there. But man, physically, like, bro, I couldn't tell you
Could be
where I would
could be
be in
anywhere in the
10
world.
years. Like,
Yeah.
I can't even. That's crazy to
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about.
No, that's a good answer. It's a cool question, because a lot of people think, we were kind of talking about this with the psychology side of things. Everyone thinks so differently.
Yeah.
So I asked that question a lot, and some people have a mentality where they think ahead and they kind of have goals set, but others
Hmm.
have just general goals that they build on each day, but they don't think too far in the future. What kind of
Hmm.
mentality do you have? Do you have goals where you're like, in 5 years I want to be here, or like that type of thing, or is it just a day-to-day grind of this is my goal, this is how I want to be, and that's it?
I have short-term and long-term goals, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Um, and yeah, like you have to do, I always think about it every day. I'm doing something that will help me towards these goals, right? But I think it's wise to have short-term goals and long-term goals, because if you can do
Mm-hmm.
that, then like you're putting yourself in a pretty good position.
Right.
Like if you want to be a general manager in 5 years time, well, okay, like how do you do that, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
to have things in place that help you, um will help you realize that, and go from there. But yeah, I firmly believe that short term and long term, you can do that. Perfect.
I love it. All right, that's all I got for the big questions. We got some quick fire questions, and then you're free to go.
All
You
right,
don't have to be
man.
bugged by me anymore. You can enjoy your Sunday night. All
No,
right, so
it's
the
good.
first one, obviously, other than Calgary, what is a team that you support? Do you have a single team, or is it just kind of a
Oh
national thing?
yes,
All right, here
Oh
we go.
yes, it's on. It's actually one of the flag is on the scarves is on your
Oh,
wall.
okay.
I love
Don't
Arsenal.
make me guess. I was gonna say I'm gonna be guessing all day.
Yeah, yeah.
Arsenal.
Big, big Arsenal fan. Loved Arsenal since I was a kid. I started as a United fan, but thank God I saw the light.
Hmm.
Um,
I
and
was the same. I started as a United fan, and then Gerrard slipped. That was the
oh
day,
no,
and I went. I'm going to be a Liverpool fan. I don't know what it was
oh
about it,
wow.
but I was like, these guys are down bad. I gotta help them out.
Yeah, you gotta join them.
Yeah.
No, it's been good, man. Like, yeah, I love Arsenal. I love I love the study of them too. Like recently, like look at what they've done. Now,
Yeah.
everything in terms of like strategy and implementation and the people they brought in, high character, talented as well. Like it just like looking at that. Like I honestly, I save these documentaries. Like
Hmm.
I watch them like all the
I was going to
time.
ask you about the all in or was it all or nothing?
All or nothing.
All
Yeah,
or nothing. Yeah.
I watch them all the time. Like the Newcastle one. Like
Yep.
honestly, Chad. Like I bring out like my book, like notebook, and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
shh, whoa, like they did this, they did that. Like I'm obsessed about it
Hmm.
that way. So yeah, man, Arsenal, man, till I die, forever.
No, that's killer. I like that. I went
Yeah,
and watched Arsenal Lisbon. Obviously,
yeah,
didn't turn out the way you would have liked,
no,
but it
no,
was really cool. It was an interesting time because they were still in that building stage. They're first in the Premier League at the time, so incredible time to go and watch them. And I always, even as a Liverpool fan, I appreciate so many different clubs just
yeah,
with the structure they built with Saka, Odegaard, you name it. They got some solid guys there.
players, man,
All
players.
right, so then the next question: do you have a favorite quote or saying that you live by?
Oh,
Some
favorite
people
quote or
have one.
say?
Sometimes it's just a. I know, like it's completely gone out of my brain. Can't think now. Yeah, do you have one?
Yeah, it's basically favorite like not
Yeah,
necessarily a quote, but saying
but
is that
saying, yeah.
I want to do unto others as you would want done, to you,
Mm,
right? And that's what I live my life that way, like I don't. I'm all for like banter, but like you know, I'm not really a person that will want to be bantering someone just for the sake of bantering someone. For
right.
example, um, it's not really my style. Um, but yeah, man, like everything I want to do, like I want to uphold that and live by that, so that you know it's I can build my life out of like respect, for
Right.
other people and et cetera, et cetera. So no, that's what I live by.
No, it's unique. No one said that one so far, so that's good.
Yeah,
You can claim that one, and no one else can claim it now.
yeah, yeah.
The next question: if I ever come out to Calgary, so obviously I'll have to come watch a game. But
For sure.
besides the game, what else should I do? Like food recommendations. There's obviously the Stampede. What else you got? What are
Yeah,
your like?
man.
What's your top recommendation if someone's coming to Calgary?
Man, this is such a bad question for me because I'm such a homebody, man. Like,
Oh, okay, okay.
like honestly, like go down to Banff, Lake Louise, all those
Mhm.
places. Like when you come to Calgary, you got to go towards those areas because those areas are beautiful, beautiful
Yeah,
area,
yeah.
right? Um, and I think for food, like, we have so many like fantastic, like unique food places that I don't
Really.
even like. I have a page that I follow on Instagram and things that I'm collecting. I'm like, geez, like I learn something new about the city every day. You
Hmm.
know, if you're a foodie, seriously, look
I
up
love my
places that you
food.
can go eat. Yeah, that like I don't know, depends what kind of food you want to eat, but like
Anything.
if
Yeah.
you're open, like
Yeah.
there's so many unique spots that
All right.
will give you what you're looking for sure.
I like it. I like it. Do you like reading books? Some people are like super into reading. I'm like on the. I'll sometimes read when I can,
Yeah,
but
I'm
I
like
try to
you.
read more than I
I'm
try
like
to
you.
read more than I normally read. But when I can get into something, it's normally sports, a
Yeah,
biography,
yeah,
something that's going to
yeah, yeah,
inspire me.
yeah. That's
I'm
that's
reading
me
the
right there.
I'm reading the Shaquille O'Neal biography right now,
Oh
and
wow.
I probably said I was reading it on episode 1, which was nearly a month ago still. But great biography. But yeah, do you have any good book recommendations or a book you're reading right now?
Uh, I'm like you, by the way, when it comes to like reading, man. Like, bro,
Hmm.
it's tough sometimes, but
Yeah.
there's knowledge in there that we need.
Hmm.
I like the book The Success Commandments by Devon Franklin.
Mm.
The reason why I like that book is because he is a Christian who was working in a secular, you know, setting. He
Hmm.
works in Hollywood and blah blah blah. So he talked about like how to thrive as in your career as a Christian in such a setting, and teaches you some really good fundamentals that I think can be unique for anyone to use.
Hmm.
So yeah, man. Like if people are listening to this, like try reading that, and see if you like it or not.
I gotta add it to my list. I got like 20 books. I'm probably gonna finish them by the time I'm like 80, but I will get to
Yeah,
some of them, I'm sure.
man, it's crazy. For some people I know, read books like they like sipping water. I'm like,
My
how?
brother's once a week. One a week he finishes. I wish I could get to that level.
That's unbelievable.
I don't know how he does it. All
Yeah,
right, so one of the big ones I like asking everyone, like if anyone asks me what's my hobby, it's obviously soccer. Like I play soccer, watch soccer, listen to soccer, like you name it.
yeah.
Do you have any hobbies to kind of get your mind away from it, or just to chill out and relax?
This question always gets me in trouble because my wife is. I'm sure my wife thinks that all I do is like soccer. Like
Yeah,
she probably thinks like I go to bed dreaming about like soccer and blah blah blah. But
about
I
scoring
love
that
watching.
goal against Halifax.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I haven't dreamt about that in a long time. That one's behind me now. But I love watching movies.
Hmm.
Love watching movies. Love like shows. Like sometimes I start watching shows with my wife, but then my wife's a nurse, so I'm like, yo, like I can't be waiting for you to like, come on, like
Yeah.
I need to watch, I need to get going,
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I love watching movies, shows. Um, I would say like also helping out with the youth.
Mm.
I love volunteering my time to help out with teenagers, and helping them um in their journey of life.
Hmm.
So yeah, those are some of the things that I enjoy, and also family time as well.
Right. No, that's good. That's all I got for you. So I appreciate you coming on. Do you have anything you want to shout out first before you go?
No, man, like thank you, thanks for the opportunity to. I love what you're doing. Like
Thank you.
you're a young guy building this, and I fully respect that. And yeah, continue, man. Just continue to go from step to step, and I look forward to like continuing to plug into these, and I believe you can learn something off, good or bad, from
Hmm.
anybody. So yeah, like really cool, dope initiative, and good job.
I
So
appreciate it.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you for contributing. And yeah, so this will be out next Saturday. So
Okay,
we'll have to wait a little bit, but
yeah,
it'll be a good one. I think people will enjoy it.
yeah. Let's hope so. All
Yeah, thanks again for coming on, and we'll keep in touch.
right, my man.
All right, have a good one.
Appreciate